So welcome to the Fall 2025 Stated Meeting of the Presbytery of the Cascades. I am Margaret Mitsuyasu, your Presbytery moderator for the Thank you. So I'm your moderator for the 2025-2026 program year, and I'm so happy to be with you today. So as our Presbytery mission statement says, we are a community that is committed to cultivating spirit-led, collaborative ministries that embody God's love in Jesus Christ. So as we begin our time together today, I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time and making the effort to be here today. I know it was a wet day to be driving here, and I know some people are from nearby, but many of you are from far away, so thank you. It is good to be gathered in person as a regional community of faith. So in order to make the most of our opportunity to be present with one another in person and to help us live into our identity and calling as a faith community, we are going to approach our time together a little bit differently than normal. So first, you may have read in the introduction to the background papers that we are going to be weaving worship throughout our time together. Our hope is that this will help remind us that our work is a part of our worship. We seek to serve God in everything that we do, including the work that we do together as a presbytery. We also hope that this will help us bring a spirit of worship to our work together, as we remember that as a community of faith, we do not seek to decide matters, but rather to discern God's direction together. So secondly, a major benefit of in-person meetings is, of course, the opportunity for fellowship, the chance to spend time with one another, to get to know each other, to share ideas and stories and encouragement from our own individual experiences of ministry. And so to capitalize on this opportunity, we have intentionally not planned any business for after dinner this evening, and we are encouraging you to use this time to connect in fellowship with one another. So we are thinking of this time, along with dinner, as an extension of our communion time. So you are welcome to gather in whatever groups you like, but we do say let's please try to make sure that everyone is included. And to help to facilitate this time, we have set up a few starting options. So Westminster here has graciously offered to keep the building open for a while after worship. So there are some of us that have brought some games, and we will be gathering in the fellowship hall. So please feel free to join us for that. You're also welcome to gather here in any number of spaces for informal conversation as well. For the more daring among us, there is a group that is going to go axe throwing. Right, so I think there are a few more spaces available for that if you are interested, and I am looking forward to hearing about that, and we'd love for you to add your ideas to this list as well. There is a whiteboard out in the narthex kind of to the left towards the bathrooms there that have some more of the details for each of these listed, and we invite you, please add your ideas there as you have a sense of them, so check those out during the break time. And we've also set up an online document so we can continue sharing what we're doing even after we have left the building. So everyone, I invite you to get out your phone right now, scan the QR code up there, or you can type it into your web browser. So that's bit.ly/POTC2025FUN10. So bit.ly/POTC, like Presbytery of the Cascades, 2025 for the year, fun, because we're going to have some fun, and 10 for the month. So you can keep that open, and so you have access to it all evening. Everyone should be able to type into it directly, so as you're coming up with ideas and knowing what you're doing, and if you're open to inviting other people to join you, type it in straight there, and everyone will be able to see what you put in immediately. It saves automatically, so just type it in and you're good to go. So, thank you. I am looking forward to hearing what everyone does this evening. And so now as we turn our attention to the work that we have ahead of us, let us begin with our call to worship. So our worship leaders for our meeting this weekend are all going to be members of our Presbytery, your Presbytery Leadership Commission. And Gail Black is our moderator-elect, and she will lead us now. Gail.
Thank you. Let us join together in our call. What are your dreams, people of God?
To be filled with laughter, to cry with joy, and not with sorrow.
What are your hopes, people of God?
To be free of the chains that bind us, to shout with thanksgiving, not with anger or anguish.
Rejoice, people of God, here and now.
God makes our hopes and dreams come true. We come with faith and open hearts, attuned to the movement of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. As we continue the work of gathering, we acknowledge that this meeting at Westminster Presbyterian Church in Salem occurs on the traditional land of the Kalapuya people, who today are represented by the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians, whose relationship with the land continues to this day. We offer gratitude for the land and for all those who have stewarded it throughout the generations. We are particularly grateful for the hospitality of the Westminster congregation for inviting us into their space. So I, as the moderator, recognize the Reverend Kelly Wadsworth, who is the pastor here at Westminster, to welcome us and share about the work of this congregation.
Thank you, Margaret. Welcome to Westminster Presbyterian Church. My name is Pastor Kelly Wadsworth, and it's great to have the Presbytery here. It's wonderful to have been voluntold that we would be hosting in October, with a friendly reminder that it had been multiple decades since it had happened here. And so it's good to have all of you here. You are in our sanctuary space. And this building was built in 1985. Some folks over here are going to be able to see the original chapel building, which is our library. So that was original in 1958. And then, I don't remember what year I said this building was, 1985. They are sort of reversible sometimes. This sanctuary was built in 1985. Many of our artists helped make and craft what you see up on the walls, the banners. The woodwork was done by a local artist named Roy Setzel. The 3 circles represent the Trinity. There's some additional information and artist information outside the doors. For our coffee hour, for our dinner, and for a portion of our discussion and reporting time, you'll be in Boulder Hall, which was the newest building here on this property. It was built in 2008 and had a mortgage, which one of our exciting pieces of news, hopefully in 2026, is that we will pay it off a couple of years early. So we are celebrating with this potential on the horizon. Westminster is part of ministry here in Salem. We actively partner with the other mainline congregations. So we have a pretty active group of our Presbyterians, Lutherans, Methodists, UCC, Episcopalians, Covenant, Disciples, UCC. We get together regularly as the mainline clergy, as do our youth for their youth collective. It is out of these relationships and partners with our friends throughout the city that a number of things are starting to emerge. It literally started off with, we didn't even know each other's names. So it started off with, hello, my name is. And it has now grown into trusted relationships, valued comrades, and the pre-Presbytery event today was an action at the Capitol with the Poor People's Campaign, and it is out of that clergy, those relationships, it is out of that cluster that the Poor People's Campaign is taking root. You can see up there. So there's a number of us in the room who may look okay, but we are soggy and we are wet. because as soon as we went outside, it did indeed start raining even more than when we were inside. So we were out there just now. Thank you for those who joined. It was good to be together, to be a moral voice in this time, to stand up for our sisters and our brothers, for all who need us to stand up for them, and to live into who we are, the deepest part of our call and the deepest part of our history. And so, without further ado, welcome to Westminster. It's good to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly, and to all the members of your faithful congregation team who are working hard to host us. We are very grateful. So the moderator now recognizes the stated clerk, Paul Bells-Templeman, for a brief announcement regarding meeting process.
Thank you, moderator. I wanted to address the issue of if you have new business, we're going to be processing new business in a little while. But in order to do that, first you need to understand what new business is and isn't. New business is not an announcement. It is actually something that takes the form of a motion that is then voted on. So if you have new business, let's say, that you want to bring to this meeting, which sometimes happens, there are these motion forms, and they're actually designed so that we can make 2 copies. So we can have 1 copy up front, and 1 copy can be in the back with the folks working on the slides. So that's one reason you might want to have a motion form. But it doesn't say new business, does it? It says motion form. I don't know if you can read that. If during the meeting you want to make an amendment or something that's quite lengthy, or is more than just striking a word or changing 1 word, please use one of these so that we have it so we can put it accurately on the slides. So I think I said they're in the back, outside the door. There's a table, and there's some out there. Or if you're in the front and you are brave, you can walk up to the table. And whenever people talk about things laid on the table in a meeting, it's because the clerk or secretary has a table, and so I have one. And you can untake something from the table. You can take something from the table in that case. So that's how we try to make new items that need to be projected so everyone can see it easier for people to read and to facilitate that process. Next, I did want to touch on decorum during a meeting. So there are many rules of decorum, but I've boiled them down to 4. First, address all remarks through the chair. We have 2 microphones out front. We will probably move those a little closer to you and away from the table. But one way to address remarks to the chair is to actually look at the chair rather than looking around and making eye contact as you learned in public speaking class with your audience. Actually, Robert's Rules of Order says, please just make eye contact with the chair. Avoid using other commissioners' names. That just keeps everything fair and polite. Do not question other commissioners or members' motives. So it's one thing to say someone is inaccurate, but to suggest that they are lying or something like that would be inappropriate. And finally, confine your remarks to the pending question. So if we're talking about a motion, your remarks are about the motion. If we're amending the motion, we want to hear about the amendment, not about the motion, until we get back to the motion. Those are the rules. Have fun.
Thank you, clerk. And for clarification, the chair is me, your moderator. Moderator and chair in this case go together. We use similar words in different ways all the time. So we would now like to welcome any first-time commissioners that are present with us today. So if this is your first time attending a Cascades Presbytery meeting as a ruling elder commission, especially if it's in person, please stand or raise your hand. Is there anyone? All right. Oh, wow. We have several. Let us welcome them. Wow. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Since our last meeting, I heard that we have also welcomed several new minister members. Is that correct, stated clerk? Who do we have joining us as a new minister member? And then you have them here.
Moderator, before the meeting, we were discussing this meeting, and I said I was very nervous because I wasn't nervous, and there was something I was forgetting. And one thing I forgot was to pull the list of folks who have joined the Presbytery recently as ministers. If you are a minister and here and have joined since our last in-person meeting and you want to stand up to find recognition, I believe that would be in order at this time.
All right, are any of our new minister members present with us today? In the back, yes, welcome. Thank you for being here as well. So if you are seated near any of these first-time commissioners or new members to the Presbytery, please make sure to introduce yourself to them and make them feel welcome as a part of our community today. So thank you very much. We also welcome all presbyters, that is, presbyters are ministers or ruling elders who are part of other presbytery synods or other church councils to this meeting. Presbytery custom allows the seating of these visitors as corresponding members, which grants them voice but not vote in the proceedings of this meeting. So has the clerk, I know the clerk has been notified of some individuals who are joining us and wish to be seated as corresponding members. Say, clerk, would you please introduce them?
Thank you, moderator, and sorry for the spoiler alert. Yes, I have been notified of a few folks, and there are some other folks here that I know and I even met, and I, again, did not write down your names. So the folks I'm aware of are the Reverend Sandra Moon, Vice President of Church Finances and Property and Adaptive Initiatives for the Presbyterian Foundation.
So many things.
The Reverend Wilson Kennedy. Oh, hold on, that's good. She used to be the Ministry Relations Officer till quite recently, so congratulations.
Yes.
We also have the Reverends Wilson Kennedy and the Reverend Jeannie Shaw from the Interim Unified Agency of the Presbyterian Church USA. Come on. And I know there's a few others. I just met you. I can't remember your name. Sorry.
All right. So if you or you know of somebody who is here who wishes to be seated as a corresponding member, would you please rise and introduce yourself or your neighbors? Microphone? Sure. Yes. Please come to the microphone.
Hi, Reverend Dr. Jennifer Bales from the Presbytery of San Jose. My husband and I just moved to Salem, and so this is my first Presbytery meeting as a corresponding member.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone else? I see someone standing in the back. Are you coming forward? No, just moving. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And since there are no others, is there any objection to seating those that we have just named as corresponding members? If you object, please just say object. Okay, good. So without objection, it is so ordered. So let us welcome all of our corresponding members. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad to have you with us. So as we move through the business portions of the meeting, we want everyone to be able to participate in our proceedings. And so it is important for you to know how to seek recognition if you wish to speak during the meeting. So to seek recognition, you will come to one of the microphones here on the floor. And if somebody is already there, we invite you to line up behind them. And there are a few special instances when you may call something out from the floor, and these are called interrupting motions. And they are for items like a point of order, which is when you think we have made an error in following the rules of our process. Another one is a parliamentary inquiry, which is used to seek clarity on the rules of our process or the effect of the motion being discussed, or if you want to propose something on the action, but you're not quite sure how to do that, you may request a parliamentary inquiry, and our stated clerk will help you figure out how to do what it is that you're wishing to do, or an objection. So, for example, if you object to an item on the consent agenda and want it removed, or if I, the moderator, say, is there any objection, then and then the motion is adopted, you can object. So just like we did when we were seating our corresponding members. So if you didn't want them to be seated, you would have said object. So luckily, hopefully we won't do that too often. Yes, so for these special interrupting motions, you do not need to go to a microphone, but can instead just call them out from your seat, point of order, inquiry, or objection. And we will, for the ones that we will then pause while you come to a microphone so then you can elaborate on your interrupting motion further. If you do not have one of those three, you do need to go to the microphone and then wait to be recognized by the moderator. That's me. And when the moderator calls on you, we ask that you begin by stating your name, your ecclesial office, so whether you are a teaching elder or ruling elder, and your church or elected office in the presbytery. So for example, Pat Smith, ruling elder, First Presbyterian, Redmond, or Drew Jones, teaching elder, or Joe Anderson, ruling elder, nominating committee. Make sense? Okay, great. It is also, as the stated clerk said, the custom to address your comments to me, the moderator, rather than to the body, and to refrain from referring to other presbyters by name. So our first official item of business is to adopt our consent agenda, which includes the agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda is found on page 8 of the background papers. So a consent agenda combines any items of business that are not expected to be controversial or need discussion together into a single motion. There is no debate or discussion about the consent agenda. However, if you think any of the items that are on the consent agenda do require debate or correction, or if you are wishing to vote against the item, you may request that that item or items be removed from the consent agenda, and then we will take them up at a later point in the meeting. Any item that is not removed from the consent agenda will be adopted. By not removing them, you consent to their approval. So today's consent agenda has 7 items on it, and so if you wish to remove any of the items, you may stand up or raise your hand now and call out the number you wish to remove. Are there any objections? Stated clerk.
Number 7.
Could you please, please go to the microphone and please introduce yourself.
Paul Bells Templeman, minister member, stated clerk. I would like to remove number 7.
All right, thank you. Number 7 is removed. Are there any others? Okay. Is there something back there? I heard. No. Okay. So, all right, with no further calls for removals, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are adopted. We will return to item number 7 at a later point in this meeting. All right, we will now hear brief reports from the Presbyterian Foundation, the Koinonia Center, the Board of Trustees, and the Synod Commissioner. So I will invite those who are speaking to come forward, and I will invite Sandra Moon, who is presenting first.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And I apologize for not doing things decently in order, but I think I should have objected to being a corresponding member because I'm under the assumption I am a member of this presbytery. But yeah.
Okay. Well,
yes.
okay. Well, I guess we'll correct that in the next time we do the minutes. So thank you.
Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Sandra Moon, minister member of this presbytery, and I was your very short-lived ministry relations officer at the Presbyterian Foundation. I have recently transitioned to a new role as vice president of church finances and property and adaptive initiatives. And so we hope to hire someone soon to fill the role of ministry relations officer. But if you need anything in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to direct you to the person you should speak to. But I'm here today because I want to share some information about an exciting brand new conference that the Presbyterian Foundation is offering. It's called Luminosity, and I'll read you the description. The Luminosity Conference is designed for Presbyterian church and ministry leaders who are ready for fresh, inspiring ideas. It's about helping leaders think creatively and strategically in a time when everything, from congregational life to technology, is changing quickly. The conference brings together pastors, innovators, and ministry thinkers to share real tools and fresh approaches for leadership, communication, and community impact. You'll get practical strategies you can take home right away, things that help your church or organization grow stronger and more sustainable. It's inspiring, yes, but it's also deeply grounded in the how of ministry, how to navigate change, maximize resources, and lead with confidence in today's world. And for pastors and for commissioned ruling elders, this conference, it is approved for our church financial leadership grant. So if you apply for that grant, it'll cover half of the cost of all expenses related to attending the conference. So that includes registration fee, travel costs, hotel meals. So if you want more information, I have a flyer on the table along with a wealth of other resources that the foundation offers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for Sandra? All right, well, thank you, and congratulations on the new role. All right, our next report is from Liz Levitt for the Koinonia Center. I'm not sure if I see Liz here yet. All right, so we will pause then, and we will move ahead to the Board of Trustees, and Chair Mark Olson will report.
I am Mark Olson, teaching elder, Chapel by the Sea, and the big shoes of the chair of the trustees. And I first just want to start off this quick report because I won't be able to be here tomorrow. I have a memorial service as a pastor that is a very important job to be present at. First off, I just want to really make sure that we thank Marilyn Howe, who was the previous chair, for all the work that she did. She was put in the crosshairs many times of controversies, but filling her shoes, holy moly. She was very present in so many things, and she comes from that place of a ruling elder. And so just, if you'll bear with me, if you are a ruling elder, please raise your hand. Nice. That's a lot of you, and I know exactly how many congregations we represent you as elders today, but I know that we have, 88 congregations, something close to that in our presbytery. Raise your hand if you are a teaching elder. Okay. And so the difference in our presbytery is that ruling elders come from a congregation, and the strength of a congregation comes from its membership, who then goes ahead and elects 2 elders, and those elders then become also representatives on the presbytery. But the strength, and I would say this, the real strength of any presbytery rests on all of those shoulders that raise their hands. Without that support, and again, the membership of the pastors, of the teaching elders, this is our membership. This is the place where we reside our membership. We don't have memberships in congregations anymore, so just remember that. As trustees, we are responsible to make sure that your properties they're working for what you need them to do. And when a congregation ceases to exist anymore, that property comes back to the presbytery or goes on to another congregation where the membership resides. We come up with budgets to make this presbytery work. And as Presbyterians, if you go back to the days of John Knox, who basically, a group of people said, we don't want to be led by a king. Our congregations, our churches, we don't want a king or a queen to do that. We want to have voice to decide what we do. We as Presbyterians hold that legacy. We as Presbyterians had much influence on the Constitution of the United States. We as Presbyterians have something to say in this world. We as Presbyterians have a voice that I think people hunger for in this country. where we can talk and debate, where we can come to conclusions where the majority votes for something, we go for it. And when we lose, we don't go home and quit. Right? Right. The strength of our congregations is within all of us. Our presbytery, you'll have a big discussion perhaps tomorrow with our budget. We are, as a presbytery, we are in many ways living off of the assets of our property. And we can do that for a while, just as all of you elders know that your congregations are also struggling with how to keep going. And you can either raise funds or something else, but when congregations let their membership know, we need you to support more, or if we can't, then we need to figure out what to do next. The trustees are all involved in that kind of business. We as a presbytery involved. But you as congregations, how do we balance a budget? You will have that discussion. Can our congregations come up with more money in order to pay the salaries of our personnel? What personnel, if we want to shrink it, can we get rid of and still live? But these are the things that congregations have to deal with, and we as a presbytery. But I want to remind you that this presbytery strength comes from the local congregations. You have teaching elders to help you to understand the polity, to understand the scriptures. That's why we're called teaching elders. We come from a long line. This presbytery supports those who are in seminary, those who are learning to do CPE work. As a trustee and as the chair of the trustees, the 12 members do an incredible amount of work. And it is out of love that we do it. We're not the bad guys. We simply are doing the work that we need to do. And I just really hope that as a presbytery, we will keep doing this work because we have more than just a legacy. Our voice is so important in the world, and especially when we come back to, if I introduce myself as I'm a ruling elder, I like to introduce myself first as a child of God. And our job as a church is to help people know that they were all created by God and that our real community of God, that kingdom of God, that kingdom of God is everywhere. And yet this denomination has a vital role to play, and your trustees are working in it, and that is my report, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mark. So, we'll be discussing the budget further tomorrow, but it's great to hear from you as well. Thank you. We will now hear from our Synod Commissioner, Rebecca Jewell. Is Rebecca here? Okay. All right, we will, wait, Rebecca? No, okay. I also hear that we have a report from a few of our congregations, from Warm Springs in particular, and Brian Craker is going to bring a report from them. I know, thank you.
Madam Moderator, Brian Craker, teaching elder, and I'm honored to be serving as your transitional executive presbyter for our presbytery. Normally I come and I give a opening report as part of presbytery, but I'm going to be doing some work with Chris Murphy a little later. We'll be doing that in the Boulder Room. But there were a couple things that we wanted to highlight for you all at this meeting. The first is I wanted to give a very special and heartfelt thank you from the Warm Springs congregation to this presbytery. We put out a call over a year ago where we renewed our pledge to this mission congregation to be able to say that we understand that because your congregation cannot continue to exist on $2,000 in plate offerings a year in your economy, that there were certain things that we need to come alongside and say we're going to fully support this mission congregation. And part of that work was the fact that their manse was well out of use and needed urgent refurbishment. The trustees were able to come together with a plan along with Thomas Lundy on our staff, and the price tag was up there. It was well over $100,000. And the call went out in this presbytery and beyond, and tens of thousands of dollars came in to help in that funding of it, along with dollars that the trustees were able to put together. And I am here to tell you that that project is nearing completion. In fact, it may be done in the next few weeks. And this project was critical in getting the manse refurbished so that they could begin the work of then beginning their search for their next pastor, because any minister that is going to serve in that community has to live in that community. You cannot commute there. It's not an option. And so now that this critical work has been done, this next step is now available for the AC. And it would not have happened had it not been for the commitment of this body, not just a verbal commitment, not just a, hey, this feels good, we're going to do this, but you got back behind it with dollars. So many of your churches took up collections and individuals took up collections to help make this a reality. So I want to say on behalf of Warm Springs and the Presbytery of the Cascades, thank you for your generosity and the support for our Warm Springs congregation. The second item is just to give an update, as promised, on the merger with Mount Scott Park and Oak Hills Presbyterian churches. And we had reported when this merger came before the floor in the spring meeting that we had anticipated that the ecclesiastical portion of that merger would be completed by our fall meeting. And I am here to report that that ecclesiastical merger has been completed, with the membership now having merged into Oak Hills Presbyterian Church. And I have heard positive feedback that they have really well assimilated into that congregation, into this new body. I'm hearing a vibrancy that is happening in that congregation, a choir that has a whole lot more members, right, Pastor Christie? It's been great, but so much more that is happening on the community front as well. And ideas about what they can do together in their community in this new partnership. And so this has been a blessing. This was a new road for us to go down, and it was a wonderful experiment, and it's turned out to be really successful. And we thank you for your prayerful support for that merged congregation and that work. There was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes from our COM, Dan Vetter and his team came alongside and did a lot of great work working with both congregations in both sessions. I want to give a very special shout out to Dan for that behind the scenes work. This wouldn't have happened without you. And I want to give a very special shout out to Pastor Sue Van Stelly and Pastors Christy Polk, who worked behind the scenes tirelessly, not just as colleagues, but also as friends, to help make sure that this was what was going to work best for their congregations, and then working with those sessions to help make this a reality. So thank you so much for that great work.
See, Liz Levitt is here, and we will now hear the report from the Koinonia Center.
Apologies, Madam Moderator, for missing my cue earlier. I am here now. My name is Liz Levitt. I'm a teaching elder. I serve as pastor of Rose City Park Presbyterian Church in Northeast Portland. But today I'm here representing the board of the campus ministry that we have here, the Presbyterian Campus Ministry at the University of Oregon in Eugene. It continues as a ministry to students who show up on campus with some questions about who they are and where they're headed in life, how they can develop an adult faith in a new chapter. I want to say I am an alumna of the campus ministry there and would probably not be standing here today if it hadn't have been for somebody supporting and holding that space for students. And I'm here to tell you two important things today about that. And one is, you may know that ministry as the Koinonia Center. It was known by that for many years, probably since about the 1970s. But we have realized that Generation Alpha represents some new challenges to the communication of the faith. I don't know if any of you have found that. So we are undergoing a name change, so from Koinonia Center to Compass Campus Ministry. We went through a long process of discernment about something that would be accessible to students who are really looking to find their way along with the faith. So we are making that change now. And the second thing I'd like to tell you is that ministry is turning 100 years old this fall. So that's pretty exciting. That's a lot of students, that's a lot of cups of coffee, that's a lot of ministry that's happened, and so we are going to celebrate. We are having an event on the campus on November 9th. It's a Sunday afternoon. We'd love to have a lot of folks from the Presbytery represented, since the Presbytery has played a significant role in this ministry. Many of the former directors are sitting here today. So if you would like to join us, you can talk to me afterward. We have a QR code you can RSVP that's from about 1 to 5 down in Eugene. There will be food, there will be music, there will be some speakers from our broader denomination and from right here in our presbytery. So we really hope that you'll join to celebrate that exciting ministry. We're going to hope to make it for another century. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Is Rebecca Jewell here now? Are you Rebecca Jewell? Our Synod Commissioner? Yes. All right, she is here. I thought I saw. Welcome.
Apologize for being late. The traffic was horrible coming out of where was I coming from? Portland.
We are glad you're here.
Madam Moderator, I'm Rebecca Jewell, member of Kenilworth Presbyterian Church and commissioner from the Synod of from the Presbytery of the Cascades to the Synod. The Synod meets once a year at a Synod Assembly, which is fortunately held at the Presbyterian Conference Center at Zephyr Point in Lake Tahoe, which is such a burden to go to. We met the first week in October. At that meeting, we elected a new stated clerk for the Synod, Reverend Dr. Seth Normington. He lives in Milan, Italy, but he has been serving us as an interim stated clerk, and we are grateful to have him now as a permanent stated clerk. We approved a merger that has to be further approved at General Assembly this summer of the two presbyteries of Boise and Kendall. They are merging. Actually, they've been pretty well merged. They've been holding meetings together, and they are now going to be called the Snake River Presbytery. So in the future, you will not be hearing from Boise or Kendall, but you will be hearing more about Snake River. We also approved a appointment of a second term and 2 5-term commissioners to the Synod. That includes me. I re-upped for another 3 years. I really enjoy being a Synod commissioner, primarily because I work on the grants committee, and it is so wonderful to just hand out money. So if you have any need for some money to do some projects, consider some of the grants that we have available through the Synod. We also approved new bylaws. We needed to conform our bylaws for the Synod to the bylaws, or to business bylaws for the state of California, so that we would be in compliance. We just needed to call people different things, and we approved that. And I believe as I was walking in that Brian was talking about the offering that was taken up. I don't know whether he mentioned the amount that was raised for Warm Springs. It was $1,200 and $1,205. That was when I asked last week. Hopefully it went up. We really enjoyed hearing representatives from the Presbyterian Foundation, the Synod executives, and the Board of Pensions. We experienced workshops with music for small churches with the Reverend Dr. David Gambrill, who was the Associate for Worship, PCUSA, and we shared a journey for service with Reverend C.C. Armstrong, Associate Pastor of St. James Presbyterian Church on St. James Island, a part of the Charleston Atlantic Presbytery, and currently the co-moderator of the 226th General Assembly. It was a joy indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate your work and the other commissioners for representing us in our larger councils. We have now reached the time to introduce new business. And items of new business are motions that you wish for the presbytery to take action on. So the presbytery's standing rule says that new business will ordinarily be referred to a committee unless 2/3 of the body agrees to discuss it later in that meeting. So the standing rule also states that 2 copies of the motion motion form will be filled out, just as the stated clerk introduced for us earlier and given to the stated clerk prior to introducing that new business. And I see that we might have one. Just a moment, please. All right, new business. I recognize you now.
Excellent. My name is Chris Foss Rothmeyer, teaching elder, currently serving as transitional pastor at Portland Mennonite Church. And I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you. Please go ahead and make your motion.
All right. Portland is not burning. Nor is it unable to maintain order as its residents peacefully support those who are vulnerable, voiceless, and refugees in our midst. I therefore move that the Presbytery support the Oregon Governor, the Ninth Circuit Court, the Mayor of Portland, the Portland Police Chief, and most residents of Portland in their call upon the federal government not to send National Guard troops to Portland to restore order.
Thank you. All right, I will now ask the stated clerk to guide us in how we process the new business that has come before us. Two-thirds. So as a reminder, the standing rule is that it will be referred to a committee unless 2/3 of the body vote to act on it at this meeting. Is that correct, stated clerk?
Paul Bell's Templeman, child of God, minister member, friend of Mark. In that order. Moderator, I recommend that your first move would be to refer that, and I suggest you refer it to the Presbytery Leadership Commission.
All right, so,
Just say you'll refer it to it's automatically referred.
so I just, as the moderator, appoint it to be referred unless somebody...
You're referring it.
Okay, we are referring it to the Presbytery Leadership Commission. But is that correct?
That's correct, unless somebody wants to...
Unless somebody wishes to make a motion that the body consider at this meeting.
Robert Barrett, teaching elder at Yahweh's Presbyterian Church. Given the urgency of the matter and everything that is going on today, troops imminent, I move that we address this at this meeting.
Moderator, that's not a debatable motion, so you would take a vote right now on those who are in favor. You might ask them to rise so we can ascertain whether we have a 2/3 majority.
Okay, so to make clear what we're doing now, there was new business brought to address the current situation in Portland and to respond to that. Normally, we would refer it to a committee, but we have had a motion that we take it up at this meeting, which we will do probably under our unfinished business tomorrow. If you wish for the body to discuss it tomorrow, you will vote in favor. If you think it would be just fine to refer it to the Presbytery Leadership Commission to take up at their earliest convenience, you would vote against the motion. So those in favor of addressing this motion at this meeting, please rise. Thank you. You may be seated. And anyone who would prefer that we refer it, you may rise now voting against the motion. All right, the motion carries. We will take up the matter at a later time in this meeting. Thank you. During unfinished business. Okay, I think it's that. Is there any other new business? Please remember that you are to fill out a form. All right. There being no further new business, we will continue on our agenda. We will now receive a report from our Presbyterian Youth Triennium delegation, which will be given by Dawn. or June? I don't think I see June.
So Don Ludwig, Minister at Large, so this past summer we went on the Triennium, which is a youth celebration that normally in normal times happens every 3 years, but because of COVID, we were about six years on. This was the first year that I went on, and I was sort of voluntold that they needed a registrar for the trip, and so I became the registrar, and we took 8 youth and 5 adults to Louisville, Kentucky for about 4 days for the Triennium, and there were about 2,000 high school students with a lot of energy, and it just was an amazing experience for me to go for the first time, even though I'd been a minister of youth for 30 years. I never took my youth to Triennium, and I'm so glad I was able to be a part of this group. And so you're going to hear from all girls who went on the trip and their experience, and we really do want to thank the Presbytery for financing about 75% of the cost of the trip for all the participants. So thank you. And here's the video.
Dream, 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 dream.
What was your favorite part about Triennium?
Meeting people from all over. Meeting other teenagers with the same faith.
Singing and dancing during worship.
My favorite part was definitely worship service.
My favorite part of Triennium was meeting new people.
Meeting new people through pen trading.
Getting to know other youth in the Cascades Presbytery.
The music and dance during worship.
Why should someone go to Triennium in 2028?
Because it's a good Christian experience outside a church building.
You should consider going to Triennium in 2028 because it is a really fun experience and you'll learn many new things.
The theme for this year's Triennium was As If You Were Dreaming. What are your dreams for the world?
Peace, love, and kindness. That people will be able to meet with each other without judgment.
What was memorable about worship?
Hearing sermons from all different pastors.
It was just really special to be gathered with a bunch of other teenagers who weren't afraid to have fun and express themselves and express their faith.
We were paired with a few other presbyteries in community groups. What was a takeaway from that time?
The icebreakers. It was surprisingly fun to get to know new people and do the activities with them.
Dream, dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream.
I was also among the delegation as one of the chaperones, and I can tell you it was a wonderful experience. Thank you again for all your support for this ministry. We will now transition into our time of confession, which will be led by Chris Voss Rothmeyer, who is the vice moderator from the Northeast region. And I also wanted to highlight that both our confessional liturgy and our call to worship today are from Triennium.
God is a God of dreams, a God of life. Eternity cannot hold God, nor can our little words catch the magnificence of God's kindness. Yet in the space of our small hearts and in silence, God can come and repair us. Let us confess our sin to this loving God. Prepare our hands for a new and different touch. Prepare our lives for an authentic encounter, for experiences of awakening, hope, and compassion. We confess that many of the worn out gestures, many are the movements frozen in time, many are the useless excuses just to repeat attitudes. Dreamer God, give us daring to create new ways of being community. Give ways of understanding, breaking away from old ways of relating. Encourage in us true and meaningful ways to move into relationship and serve as your people. The Apostle Paul writes, "Who is in a position to condemn? Only Christ. And Christ died for us. Christ rose for us. Christ reigns in power for us, and Christ prays for us. Therefore, anyone who is in Christ is a new creation. The old has passed away, and behold, everything is becoming new." Friends, believe the good news. In Jesus Christ, we are forgiven. Thanks be to God.
Amen. Let us carry the spirit of confession and the assurance into our next items of business. And our next items of business are the overtures to this coming summer's General Assembly. Now, overtures are one way that members and local sessions can bring business to the General Assembly of our denomination. Today, we have 5 resolutions that have been submitted by 3 sessions, and we will consider and vote on each overture separately. Overtures have 2 parts. The first part is the call to the General Assembly to take some sort of specific action. This is the foundational part of the overture. The second part of the overture is the rationale for the overture, explaining why it is important and the meaning and intent behind it. So to be considered by the General Assembly, an overture requires concurrence from at least one other presbytery, and the concurrence must be for the exact language of that first part of the overture. So for many of these overtures, which are coming before several different presbyteries, one potential strategy is to vote yes for overtures that you agree with in general, you approve of in general, since the overture will be studied and amended by committees at the General Assembly and perhaps even on the floor of the General Assembly itself. For the rationale, however, each presbytery is free to create its own rationale or not, so amendments to the rationale are not as liable to cause potential challenges for the overture further down the road. So the first overture comes from Westminster Presbyterian Church in Portland and will be introduced by Beth Outerson and Jason Hauser. I invite you to come forward. All right, so just Beth.
This afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Moderator. Can you hear me okay?
You can come to yeah, why don't you come to the lectern?
How's that? Okay, great. So my name is Beth Outerson, and I'm a ruling elder at Westminster Presbyterian in Northeast Portland. In addition to being a ruling elder, I'm also a member of the Presbyterian HIV Network, which is part of the PHEWA, Presbyterian Health Education and Welfare Association. So this is one of PCUSA's national networks that focuses on the needs of specific oppressed groups. I became interested in serving on the HIV network over 15 years ago as a public health professional. As part of this network, I work on a team of pastors and lay people, some who are living with HIV. Some identify as straight, some identify as LGBTQIA+. Many have been denied housing in the past, and some are now worried that their monthly supplies of antiretrovirals will no longer be available. And because HIV disproportionately affects brown and black people, it's now become a racial issue. So I didn't write this overture, but I reviewed it, as did many pastors from several different presbyteries. This overture was written by Pastor Andres Coetzee, who grew up in the church and felt that it abandoned him when he needed it the most. At that time, in the early to mid-'80s, everyone was scared about AIDS. No one, not even the church, talked about how HIV was transmitted or how it could be prevented or any information related to sexuality. As a fact check, I do know that 2 churches did respond openly at that time. These were the UCC Church and the Metropolitan Community Church, but not the Presbyterian Church. So this overture, on behalf of all people living with HIV and their loved ones, asks for an acknowledgement and an apology from the church about its lack of action at that time to embrace a whole group of people who felt ostracized by society. Beyond just a confession, the overture asked the church to examine the root causes of the harm that was done and to create a theological framework that addresses sexuality and relationships. So one thing I will note here is that it's not new to have an overture asking about apologies around LGBTQIA+ issues. What is new about this overture is that it relates specifically to HIV and AIDS. So if you have time to read this overture, you'll know that it's very thorough and very clear. I think it's important to read what the overture is specifically asking. First, it asks that PCUSA confess and repent that it actively participated in the rise of the HIV pandemic through harmful theological frameworks and heteronormative assumptions, and actively participated in the isolation and stigmatization of people living with HIV and their families through rejection, judgment, abandonment, and seek forgiveness from siblings harmed and commit to repair through transformative theological and pastoral action. Whoops, last page. Second, this overture directs the Advisory Committee on Social Witness Policy and Advocacy, also called AC-SWAP, and the Committee for LGBTQIA+ Equity, ACQ+E, to develop a comprehensive theological framework addressing human sexuality and relationships in contemporary contexts, examining the full spectrum of relational and family structures, exploring ethical approaches to consent, mutuality, and care within relationships, developed in consultation with people living with HIV, LGBTQIA+ individuals, and theologians from historically marginalized communities, and report those findings in 2028 at the next General Assembly. The rest of the overture is quite detailed with scriptural references throughout. It outlines the rationale, the historical context, the theological frameworks that caused harm to individuals and communities at that time, the need for confession from the church even after more than 40 years of people knowing about the existence of HIV. This issue still matters, and this confession will be the first step towards healing from the damage that has been done. Thank you.
Thank you. The overture, for your information, is found on pages 11 through 15 of our background papers. And the motion is to send the overture on confession, repentance, and renewed theological engagement regarding HIV, AIDS, and human sexuality to the 227th General Assembly. In order to help focus our time in our discussion together, in addition to our regular debate, we are going to use a few different more informal processes of deliberation as well. And so you should have received 2 note cards on your way in, a blue one and a yellow one. Is anyone missing them and need a set? Please raise your hand. There's a few over here to the front side, of piano side over there as well. All right, as we're doing that, I'll explain how we're going to do this. Now, let me be clear. These are not for an official vote, not for an official vote. They're just a way of taking our collective temperature. So if you are feeling generally warm or positive towards the motion, you will raise your yellow card. And if you are feeling sort of cool towards the motion, you will raise your blue card. All right, we'll wait till everybody has them. Does that make sense? All right, so as we begin our thinking about this motion, let's try it out. If you are feeling warm towards it, go ahead and raise your yellow card. And if you're feeling cool, go ahead and raise your blue card. All right, so there are a number of people that are feeling warm about it, but we do have some people that are feeling cool about it, and that's important for us to know. Part of our process, generally with Robert's rules, but particularly as Presbyterians, we decide by majority, but we think it's very important that we hear the voices of those who are minorities in our midst too. Sometimes they bring important things for us to consider as we are deliberating together. So I would like to start our time of deliberation by inviting those who are feeling cool towards the motion, if they would like to speak, to invite them to do that as well. Is there anyone who's feeling cool that wishes to speak about their feelings toward the motion? Please go ahead and come to the microphone. All right, the moderator recognizes a speaker here. Please introduce yourself, your name, if you're a ruling elder or teaching elder, and your church.
Thomas Bowman, ruling elder, Lebanon Presbyterian Church. Concerning the HIV, at the time, nobody knew what was going on with that thing. You can go back, and if you read the reports and records out of our very own CDC, and it was as bad or worse than COVID was. We had no idea for sure about transmission. We thought spit could do it. Sweat, you shake someone's hand, you could get it. And if you had a compromised immune system, you were going to get it. So I think we're looking at trying to revise history. It's really great. We can look back and go, yeah, we handled that situation wrong by today's standards. But at the time, like I said, no one knew. It was a fearful time. And right or wrong, we took let's wait and see what happens. Because, like I said, nobody knew how it actually transmission. There were rumors, coarse jokes, all sorts of things going around about it. But at the end of the day, we didn't know. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Is there any of the others who are feeling cool that wish to speak? All right. Before we open the floor, are you feeling cool?
I'm so cool.
Okay, please go ahead and speak.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Cynthia O'Brien, pastor at Aurora and Woodburn, and regarded extremely cool. I'm not against this at all. I have a question, and that is the comprehensive theological framework. This sounds like a huge report. Is this on the level of the 1991 Human Sexuality Report?
Great, thank you. So that is a good point as well. We definitely want to hear from those who have questions about the overture at hand. Would the maker of the motion or the Beth, is that something you can answer? Sorry, I should have had you say.
Oops.
Either way is fine.
My understanding is that there are some frameworks that have been developed by other groups that need to be reviewed. And I think that the thinking is that people who have been affected, who are living with HIV, need to be included from the beginning, and that the framework is inclusive. But I have looked around, and there are some other frameworks out there, so I don't know if it's starting from scratch, if that answers the question.
All right, thank you. Are there other questions for clarification or information about this overture that people have? All right, is there any further deliberation that the body would like to discuss before we move to a vote? All right, seeing nobody seeking recognition, we will proceed to the vote. So we are voting on the motion to send the overture on confession, repentance, and renewed theological engagement regarding HIV, AIDS, and human sexuality to the 227th General Assembly. Those who are in favor of sending this motion to the General Assembly, please say yes. Yes. Any opposed, please say no. No. All right, the motion is adopted, and the stated clerk will report the overture to the stated clerk of the General Assembly. Thank you, Beth and team. The next three overtures will be coming from North Bend Presbyterian Church, and ruling elder Dennis Smith is going to present the overtures, so I invite him forward. And we will begin with the overture calling for a new missiological statement. And this overture is found on pages 16 through 18 of the background papers, if you'd like to follow along.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Dennis Smith. I am a commissioned ruling elder currently serving as Parish Associate for Education and Community Connections at First Presbyterian in North Bend. And I actually rise to speak to all three of the proposed overtures submitted by our session, and all three relate to Presbyterian World Mission and Peace USA Mission co-workers. You may know that last year the board of the Interim Unified Agency implementing a restructuring plan closed Presbyterian World Mission and eliminated all remaining mission co-worker positions. Let me note that I served for 43 years as a Presbyterian mission co-worker in Latin America. My last posting from 2010 to 2021 was as regional liaison for South America, based in Buenos Aires. The decision to eliminate World Mission and mission co-workers has proved to be controversial, and the timing was surprising. At the 226th General Assembly in Salt Lake City, I was co-author of a Commissioner's Resolution, CR10, that called on the new agency that would grow out of the work of the Unification Commission to continue to prayerfully and faithfully review our history of engagement in God's mission, repenting of our complicity in sustaining colonial and neocolonial structures, while simultaneously being nurtured by a legacy of common witness in resisting systemic racism, colonialism, and patriarchy. In consultation with mission partners throughout the world, continue to appoint and support mission co-workers as an expression of our commitment to doing mission in partnership, and encourage local churches and mid-councils to continue to advocate with, share with, and learn from global ecumenical partners through mission networks and partnerships. That Commissioner resolution and a similar resolution, CR8, were both approved by that assembly. Nevertheless, last year, almost 200 years after they began service, both Presbyterian World Mission and the position of mission co-worker were eliminated. Why the IUA board made this decision is up for debate, but key issues certainly include finances, the legal exposure to the denomination of having mission personnel in areas of conflicts, but the public statements of staff repeatedly come back to the view that the endeavors of any mission sending agency based in the global north include irremediable elements of coloniality. After the decision, a number of mission co-workers and mission scholars began to discuss appropriate ways to respond. I was consulted, as well as a number of my former colleagues, by that group, but I was not a member of the writing team that developed the three overtures that we bring before you today. I took these drafts to the session of First Press North Bend, and after extensive discussion and some editing, we approved for your consideration these 3 overtures. I think they are stronger than the original drafts. The first overture calls on staff, accompanied by an advisory group to be named by the moderator or co-moderators, to develop a new missiological statement on which the global engagement of the PCUSA will be founded. Among the questions that need to be addressed are, what then is the missiology of the PCUSA? And how does this guide the church to serve God and neighbor and inform the global engagement of the church? How does this missiology relate to past statements and mission work? And how does it serve the context of the mission of God undertaken by the PCUSA nationally and internationally? Who engages in the global mission of the PCUSA and how? You'll find more information and the rationale that accompanies this overture, and I'll do my best to respond to any specific questions you might have. Moderator, shall I continue with the quick overview, or do you want to take it one by one?
I think it would be best to take them one by one. Thank you. All right, so you place the first overture into business. Please, you can stay close by though, please. Okay, so the first motion of this set is to send the overture calling for a new missiological statement to the 227th General Assembly. So let's do the same as before. If you are feeling generally positive or warm, you will raise your yellow card, and if you are feeling generally cool and not so certain about it, you'll raise your blue card. How are we feeling today? All right, I see generally positive, but again, some minority voices. So those of you who are feeling cooler towards this, I invite you to come if you wish to speak about your thoughts on this motion. Anybody? All right, are there any additional questions for clarity on this motion? All right, I'm sensing the body is ready to vote since no one, or is there any other discussion? Anyone else that would like to speak to it? All right, I sense we're ready to vote. So the motion then before us is to send the overture calling for a new missiological statement for the PCUSA to the 227th General Assembly. Those in favor of the motion of sending this over to the General Assembly, please say yes. Yes. Any opposed, please say no. All right, the motion is adopted, and the stated clerk will report the overture to the stated clerk of the General Assembly. I invite you, Dennis, you may continue and present your next overture. And this, if you'd like to follow along, is found on the background papers on page 19.
Moderator, the second overture asks the General Assembly to prohibit non-disclosure covenants in relations with General Assembly staff. You will recall that the last GA approved an overture that subsequently was passed by the presbyteries, including ours, that prohibits the use of non-disclosure agreements in pastoral calls. This new overture responds to the painful reality that when the decision was made to terminate all mission co-workers in March of this year, those serving in these positions were required to sign a non-disclosure covenant. These mission co-workers who chose to share what was happening, either with their supervising ecumenical partners in their country of service or with mission partners in the U.S., received warnings from supervisory staff and were reminded that under this covenant they might lose access to the severance package offered by the IUA. It should be noted that all mission co-workers were supervised by global ecumenical partners all over the world and appointed to specific terms of service. Our global ecumenical partners, ranging from theological seminaries to partner denominations and ecumenical councils and faith-based human rights organizations and development agencies, were not advised that this impending decision was on the horizon nor were the time commitments established in those appointments respected by the IUA. This overture seeks to build upon the wisdom of the 226th General Assembly in prohibiting non-disclosure agreements by also prohibiting non-disclosure covenants in hiring, termination, and employee relations with all IUA staff and the staff of any future agency leading the denomination, wherever they might serve in the world. Moderator.
Thank you. All right, so this motion is to send the overture prohibiting non-disclosure covenants in employee relations to the 227th General Assembly. Again, let us feel how we're feeling. If you are feeling generally positive, raise the yellow one. Warm towards it. If you're feeling more cool, please raise the blue card. All right, it looks like the body is generally feeling warm, but if there's anybody that is feeling cool and would like to share some more about their viewpoint and why they feel that way, you are welcome to do so. Please come to the microphone now. Okay. Okay. All right, just a second. So I will ask for if there's any questions for clarity or further information about it. All right, and any other further discussion? So please, Zane.
Madam Moderator, Zane Buxton, teaching elder. I live in Eugene and go to Central Presbyterian Church with my wife. I want to speak in favor of this because of my experience of having worked in the office of the General Assembly. And there was an era in which disciplinary cases of members of the staff of the General Assembly ended up sometimes doing non-disclosure for the sake of the person who was leaving, so that even a presbytery of membership of a minister serving on a staff might not know the reasons why a termination happened. Non-disclosure agreements are contrary to our understanding of how we work together because we are responsible to the bodies that oversee us, and they are responsible for our well-being as well.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this overture? Please.
Madam Moderator, I'm Heidi Bolt, teaching elder serving at interim at First Presbyterian Portland. I speak against this motion because I serve on the A Corporation Board of Directors, and so have been part of, I've read the covenant that folks were asked to read, and I don't believe that continuing to just prohibit different things with different names is going to get at what folks are talking about. I would rather this be a conversation with full information about exactly what the covenant said and exactly what they were trying to do, because I know the HR folks in Louisville and the due diligence that they're doing. So I speak against. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so you have someone here, please. Susan.
Susan Graham, teaching elder, Lake Grove.
Could you step a little bit closer?
I could. Susan, there you go.
Excellent, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Susan Graham, teaching elder, Lake Grove. My concern about disallowing non-disclosure agreements is that we remove a tool from the toolbox that can also be helpful for those who are victims of things. I think it works two ways. We deeply understand it when they have been used to protect people that have caused harm, but I'm concerned that if we remove things that are also protections for those who really need it, have we wisely chosen to remove a tool that we should keep? Thank you.
Thank you. There are others who wish to speak. All right, seeing none, we will proceed to the vote. We are voting on the motion to send the overture prohibiting non-disclosure covenants in employee relations to the 227th General Assembly. Those in favor of the motion to send that overture to the General Assembly, please say yes. Yes. Are there any opposed? Please say no. No. I think the motion carries, so it is adopted. The stated clerk will report the overture to the stated clerk of the General Assembly. And Dennis, please, you may come forward and introduce your third overture. This one is found in the background pages 20 and 21.
Moderator, the third overture calls for a review of the whole process that led to the elimination of Presbyterian World Mission. You'll find the specifics in the text. It is the position of this overture that the decision to eliminate Presbyterian World Mission and terminate Presbyterian mission co-workers was unilateral, and the related communication proved to be paternalistic. By not consulting our global siblings and communicating very late, the IUA did not present itself as an equal ally, but as a dominant partner imposing a decision from a position of power. In a word, the decision was made and implemented bore the marks of coloniality. This overture calls for the processes by which these decisions were made to be reviewed, to determine how the actions conform with or violate previous General Assembly actions, and to report to the 228th General Assembly with appropriate recommendations. Several presbyteries back east are looking at versions of these three overtures, including Charleston, Atlantic, Newcastle, and the Presbytery of the James, but to my knowledge, Cascades would be the first presbytery to actually approve them. The group that prepared these initial drafts submitted them to the Associate Stated Clerk of the General Assembly and circulated copies to the interested parties as directed, as well as making the necessary changes to language and recommendations to bring them into line with GA protocols.
Thank you. So the motion is to send the overture call to review the restructuring of PCUSA World Mission to the 227th General Assembly. Again, let's get your cards. If you're leaning in favor or feeling warm towards it, yellow. Leaning cool, blue. All right, generally leaning in favor, but some who are feeling cool. I would invite, well, let's start with questions this time. Are there any clarifying questions about the motion? All right, I invite those who have a minority viewpoint that are feeling somewhat cool if they would like to speak.
Greg Bolt, teaching elder, Salem First Presbyterian Church. I don't like any of these. I voted no for the first two. I'm going to vote no for this one. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And the thing that I know, because I've served in multiple presbyteries and have served on GA committees and have been a part of the General Assembly for 35 years, is that these conversations had been going on. They were going on. They were engaged with all the partners, having friends. Like, just because we didn't know about it when it came front doesn't mean that those conversations weren't happening. I've seen this at literally every single General Assembly since Biloxi, Mississippi in 1987, which I was at. So I also think that this continues to keep the Presbyterian Church stuck in old ways, because I think it is absolutely colonial for us, a 90% white organization, to say, you have to have us, we have to be in this conversation. One of us has to be there, or else it's not really mission. I think that is obnoxious. I think it goes against the books that our co-moderators have asked us to read over the last decade. And I think this is another opportunity for the church to think differently about what we have always done. And I don't think we're able to do it, and it makes me sad.
Thank you. Are there others who are feeling cool in our minority point at this that would like to speak? All right, is there any other further discussion the body would like to have? All right, seeing no one rising to seek recognition, we will move to the vote. So now again, we are voting on the motion to send the overture call to review the restructuring of PCUSA World Mission to the 227th General Assembly. Those who are in favor of sending this overture to the General Assembly, please say yes. Yes. Any who are opposed, please say no. No. I believe the motion carries. So this one will, again, be reported to the stated clerk. Our stated clerk will report to the stated clerk of the General Assembly. And our final overture to the General Assembly is coming to us from the Community Presbyterian Church in Yachats and will be presented by Bob Barrett. Please come here. The overture is found on pages 22 through 24 of the background papers.
Madam Moderator, as you said, my name is Robert Barrett. I am teaching elder at Yachats Community Presbyterian Church, and this motion comes after much discussion and deliberation with my session. I did intend, and they are out in the narthex, I had an informational page, got here late, traffic was bad, and there was just chaos in the office before I got out this morning. And then I left my rationale on the printer, so I'm going to read the small print on my phone. All right, and I will start with, first of all, what this overture asks the GA to do. We are asking the General Assembly to remove baptism as a requirement of membership and establish one category of membership. We are asking to update the Book of Orders membership language so that sessions may receive people into membership based on trust in and commitment to the way of Jesus and participation in the life and mission of the congregation. Intention to grow in faith within community includes practices of worship, service, generosity, and discernment without requiring full assent to every doctrinal formulation as a condition of belonging. This overture does not eliminate baptism. Baptism remains a sacred, joyful expression of faith, an outward sign of an inward grace. The overture clarifies that grace precedes our responses and that baptism is encouraged and made more meaningful, not diminished. It does not abolish membership. It reframes membership as a covenantal commitment to walk the Jesus path in community, centering participation, discipleship, and service, rather than a test of doctrinal precision. It does not lower the bar, it widens the circle, so people can enter the journey honestly and grow into mature faith. This overture comes from lived experience, from walking alongside people who long to belong. People who show up, who serve faithfully, who love deeply, who embody the Spirit of Christ in every way, yet stumble over the ritual or the language of baptism. For some, baptism is beautiful, but for others, it is painful, because they've been told by the church or by their family or by people who claimed to love them that they were broken, less than, unworthy. And they don't need to hear that again in the moment that should celebrate their belovedness and belonging. Sadly, baptism has sometimes carried that message. I hold that baptism is an outward sign of an inward grace, that before we were even formed in our mother's womb, God already knew us, loved us, and claimed us as God's own. That grace is already there, baptized or not. This overture, as I said, isn't about lowering a bar, it's about widening a welcome. It's about recognizing that belonging often comes before belief, and that being part of the community of Jesus is how we grow into faith. There are many today faithful, justice-minded people who no longer subscribe to traditional understandings of atonement, the idea that God's love required suffering or sacrifice. For them, the language of baptism can sound like a theology they can no longer affirm. And yet they still seek to faithfully follow Jesus, to love their neighbor, to serve the world. Others struggle with phrases like Lord and Savior. Words that once meant devotion now carry centuries of misuse, misogyny, hierarchy, domination, and exclusion. They want to follow Jesus without carrying the baggage of empire that attached itself to his name. This overture asks the church to make room for such people, to affirm that the Spirit of Christ is alive in them just as surely as in anyone here, to remember that faith isn't a list of propositions to be signed, but a way of life to be practiced together. It invites us to start not from original sin, but from original grace. To trust that we begin in blessing, not brokenness. To see baptism not as the moment that God's love begins, but as a celebration of a love that has always been there. I've seen this grace alive in those serving at food pantries, advocating for refugees, showing up for justice, caring for the sick, comforting the grieving, and yet feeling they cannot formally belong because of words they can't in good conscience say. This overture is for them. It's for those who love the church but have wondered if the church could ever love them back. It's for those who believe that Jesus' table is still wide open, and that belonging should not depend on reciting certain words, but on a shared commitment to love, to justice, and to walking in the way of Christ together. And so, if you are unsure, even if you still have questions, I would ask that you consider voting to advance this overture today so that it can go forward for broader discernment, for concurrence, and a full and open conversation at the General Assembly. Because that's what this overture is really asking for. A chance for the whole church to listen, to wrestle, to dream together about what belonging looks like in this new day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the motion before us is to send the overture, amend the Book of Order to reform membership and baptism to the 227th General Assembly. Again, get out your cards. If you're feeling warm and positive towards this, please raise the yellow. If you're feeling cool, please raise the blue. All right, I'm seeing that we are fairly mixed on this, so we're going to try another strategy. We are going to take maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and we're going to turn to our neighbors and talk aloud with those who have a different opinion with you, a little bit about why you're feeling the way you are feeling. So, 1 minute. All right, thank you. I will call us back together. Clearly, the body has thoughts. All right, so let us return to our group discernment, and we will begin with those who have questions. Does anyone have questions about the content or the impact of this motion? Any questions? If you have questions, please come forward to the microphone. Question for clarity, Bill?
Well, I'm Bill Russell. I'm a retired Presbyterian pastor, and I go to First Church Vancouver. The question that arises to me out of this is, why in the world would someone want to be a member of a church and not be baptized? Somebody's going to have to help me understand that, which is core to my life.
Okay. I'm not sure if that is directly answerable. I'm hearing that as a pondering, wondering question. All right, please introduce yourself, your name, your status, the teaching elder, ruling elder, and where you're located.
I think I'm oriented by ×3. My name is David Jewell. I'm a teaching elder, member at large. Moderator, the overture is wide-ranging and touches on several different things. I held up both cards because I am of a different mind about different pieces of it. Mm-hmm. I recognize and would affirm the notion of some of the language, Lord, and Savior may be problematic to many, and we would want to honor a conversation about that. On the other hand, saying Jesus is a good guy is, I think, is a bar too low for membership. I think we need to affirm the divinity, the humanness and the divinity of Jesus Christ to be a member of the PCUSA. At the same time, this overture speaks to an open table at communion. And I am a believer in an open table. I don't think we should put a fence around that table and say who may come and who may not, because I believe it can be a salvific experience for those who are wondering. And so the requirement for baptism, which is on the books, to be invited to the communion table, I believe has already the praxis, and by the way, I spent $1,000 at seminary to learn that word. And you all get it for free. The way many congregations observe the invitation is without compulsion or requirements. It's an invitation. Moving our Book of Order forward on that would allow the Book of Order to catch up to what is already the practice in many congregations. Ultimately, I'm wondering, can this wide-ranging overture be somehow partitioned? And that's my question.
All right, so I hear a question regarding polity, like for action. I suppose technically you could make a motion to divide the motion in some way, but that would complexify conversations with other presbyteries. That's another good seminary word. All right, so I will let people think about that, and meanwhile, I will recognize the speaker at this microphone.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Strader, honorably retired. I'm afraid I have to speak against the motion because I firmly believe that since we've only got 2 sacraments, I don't want to give one of them up. And I understand that that's not exactly the point here. I think there are many understandings of baptism. And I would much rather see us talk about changing the liturgy and helping people grow into baptism. Who cares if they're members? I mean, they're already given and they're already working. I'm part of, because I'm retired, I can't be a member, because I'm clergy, I can't be a member of a church. I go to a Lutheran church because they sing more. And, but I'm very active in that church and feel very much like I belong. I would rather see us talk more about the journey of coming to a decision to be baptized, and I would certainly not, I certainly don't necessarily stick to the liturgy that we have in our rubrics, because I think there are, again, many understandings of baptism, and certainly Jesus' baptism was not because he was broken, but it was because of affirming his call. And I think there are many ways to put that into liturgy and that understanding. So I commend the discussion about this. I don't think this is the overture to do it.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Recognize the speaker at this microphone.
Greg Bolt, much less passionate. Teaching elder, Salem First Presbyterian Church. And the question I have is, what's the goal of as the last speaker said, what's the goal of the amendment or the changing the Book of Order? Because the Book of Order says you have to be baptized to take communion, but the Blue Book of Common Worship says you have to trust. It did, maybe it's changed, but they said opposite things. One communion was an open table, and one said you had to be baptized in order to come to communion. I know that because I used to argue with Bob's good friend Paul Galbraith, who was my professor, about it. The other thing is the goal so they can serve on session and deacons? Exactly. They can't do that now because of a word called membership. But if...
All right, please
so
remember...
You're right, but we already know what the rules are.
Please address me, the
Thank you.
moderator, please. Thank you.
So what's the goal of the thing? Do we want to be able to have people serve in session and deacons in order without being baptized? Or like, what's the goal of becoming a member without being baptized? Like, what's the? I don't understand. Because I'm super into open table and I have plenty of people who are active in my congregation who are not members, and part of it is because of this exact question. So I totally understand and want to have a conversation about this question, but what's the goal of the people bringing the amendment overture? Thanks.
Would the bringers of the amendment like to speak to that?
So a couple of things, I guess, and I'm wishing now that I had given more thought to this, and I've given it a lot of thought. It perhaps would have been best to come as two motions, one on membership, one on baptism. Two, to change the language of the liturgy around baptism. But ultimately, it is that in our congregation, and I know so many other congregations, I've had conversations with other pastors who are currently changing the language of the liturgy of the questions of membership. And I don't feel like we should have to practice subterfuge to do that, or to kind of practice some act of ecclesial disobedience. But we value belonging over believing. And that as you belong and as you pledge to follow Jesus Christ, to believe that his life is worthy of emulating, the prophet Micah said, what does the Lord require but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly? And we're saying, if you're willing to do those three things, come and be a member, and we'll figure it out together, and we'll love you into faith and encourage you at some point to be baptized. And we're not eliminating that as a sacrament, just saying that it should not be a litmus test to belonging to membership. And yes, in an age when it's difficult, when you have people that want to serve and be members, but can't be deacons or elders because they somehow are still uncomfortable with that language, yes.
Thank you. Would you want to speak to what the book of order says about the open table? All right, I will ask some clarifying questions that perhaps the stated clerk can address for us regarding what the Book of Order currently says about invitation to who's invited to attend a table.
Thank you, moderator. The Directory for Worship, W3.0409, several paragraphs down, says, all who come to the table are offered the bread and cup, regardless of their age or understanding.
So currently no specification that baptism is required for participation at the Eucharist.
That is correct.
Okay. Could maybe you also speak to what the current rule, what it says about the rights of membership? Because I believe I'm hearing some questions regarding, like, there are many ways to belong to a community of faith. Membership is a particularly defined way, so it might be helpful to have before us what the specifications of our current definition of membership is.
Well, I should know this, right? I think when you look at the lists of what the rights of members are, as opposed to the rights of those who attend, they are very, very similar. Aside from the right to hold office. What else is there? To vote. Sorry, yes, to vote. So there's essentially to vote. What's that? Present children for baptism. Is that still in there? Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, I will recognize the speaker at this microphone.
So, Madam Moderator, again,
please remember
Mark
to introduce.
Olson,
Yes.
Teaching elder, having
Could
been
you
one-
stand a little closer to the
Yes,
microphone, please?
Thank you. In seminary in Ghana, I expressed that I had been baptized a second time, to which our professor said, the Apostles' Creed, what do you know about it, or the Nicene Creed. He had me write a 50-page paper on baptism and its history and the wars that have been fought over baptism. But the question for me was one over when Jesus was baptized, and to struggle with why was Jesus baptized, I had to go back to the Jordan River as those who were in the desert journeyed across, and as they were getting ready to cross, they were told that the tribes, each take a stone. For me, it was that when they went into that new land, they had to know to whom they were following and to submit that it wasn't built by their hands, but it was built by others, but given to them by God. And for me, in part why Jesus was baptized was that very reason to say, here I stand, and it is to God to whom I humble myself. But as I follow those ways of justice, I will follow those ways of mercy, of grace. And for me, being part and member of a church, and to understand that amazing place I belong to God, to help people to understand all people are children of God. But for someone to say, this is the realm, no nation, no borders, no mountains can stop me from belonging, and I know that, and this church stands by that. And if we don't teach that, if we don't express to help our kids, you were raised knowing this is the kingdom of God, that is to whom you humble yourself to God, so I still express the need for baptism.
Thank you. I would remind the body that we please refrain from responding to the people who speak. I know we feel strongly about this, but as a way of honoring all voices in our conversation. I will recognize the speaker at this microphone.
My name is Lucy Foster. I'm a ruling elder at Westminster, Salem. I speak in favor of this because I believe that membership in the church has a way of embracing that is different than being a not member of a church, which then lets us bring them closer, and then they might be more amenable to baptism. They might be more interested. They would be more interested. It also is inconsistent what pastors insist that people believe as they are presenting themselves to baptism. And I think that inconsistency is a hard hurdle. It's a risk that people presenting themselves to a church take if they've been harmed by other faith communities in coming to present themselves for baptism. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the speaker at this microphone.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Sue Van Stelly, currently minister member at large in this presbytery and currently on COM Northeast. I hear two things that are being connected in this overture that don't have to be. I hear the idea of membership, and I hear the idea of belonging. Mm-hmm. So membership is, there's a currently defined Presbyterian understanding of membership. And then there is the idea of belonging. And belonging is a self-defined idea. An individual can decide if they belong, and they feel like they belong to a group. So it's not a theological, it's not, it's something else. And I think by combining the feeling of belonging with the definition of church membership, we are creating confusion where there doesn't need to be. I have spent more than 40 years trying to understand why church doesn't work, while it proclaims one thing that it doesn't seem to live up to. And in all of my research, I have not ever come across the idea that baptism is a barrier to church membership or the feeling of belonging in a church, nor has it been suggested as, like removing baptism has never been suggested as a solution. I also have just a theological allergy to describing baptism as a barrier. I think we've created something there. I mean, you go back to the story of the Ethiopian servant. Here is water. Why should I not be baptized? It's a sign of inclusion, not exclusion. When I have baptized someone, there is no agreement that they have to ascribe to any doctrine. Yes, they do ascribe to Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and whatever that means to them. And we welcome people to the table. You don't have to be a member of a Presbyterian church to be on a committee. So again, I think we are combining two things that don't need to be combined. And finally, I have this. When we in especially white culture like to make things comfortable for each other. But I was thinking when I read this overture of a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. And if we attempt to help the butterfly emerge from the chrysalis, we actually keep it from the ability to fly. And so, because it's the struggle itself of getting out of the chrysalis that strengthens its wings so it can fly. And so my question is, if we have someone who is struggling with the idea of baptism, are we, in our attempt to make that more comfortable with them, denying them an opportunity for growth and understanding? In the same sense that we would be trying to help a butterfly out of its chrysalis. And my next thing is worst case scenario, because I play this game with myself. In the best case scenario, this doesn't happen. In the worst case scenario, and I've been through a few worst scenarios, someone who wants to be a leader in a church but refuses to be baptized might also be a kind of person that refuses to follow other things. And so it raises, it could, in the worst case scenario, raise a red flag. And so for those reasons, I'm very cool.
Thank you. I think this has been an amazing conversation. I think it's an important one to have. I am mindful that we are further along in our past our timing of our agenda, and I'm wondering if it might be helpful for us to suspend the conversation now and have some time to discuss it further with one another during fellowship time tonight and return during unfinished business tomorrow. Or is it the will of the body to continue discussion now? Am I allowed to ask a question like that?
You could just say, is there any objection to postponing till tomorrow?
Okay. Is there any objection to postponing until unfinished business tomorrow?
Robert Barrett, Yahats Community Presbyterian Church. I don't necessarily object if we need more time to discuss, to discern. I cannot be here tomorrow. I also have a celebration of life back at my church tomorrow, so I will not be here.
Okay. So what do we do? Do we vote?
Maybe just say, if someone wants to make a motion to postpone, we'll entertain that, or if not.
Okay.
Actually, I'd just like to call the question.
Okay. Is there a second? So, all right. And so to clarify, when we call the question, that essentially means it is a motion to end debate. And because that limits the right of the body to discuss, it requires a 2/3 vote. So if you wish to end debate and then move directly to voting on the overture, you would vote yes. If you wish to continue our time of discussion and debate, you would vote no. Okay? So those in favor of calling the question and ending debate now, please say yes. Yes. Any opposed and wish to continue, please say no. No. I think the motion carries. But clearly, this is a conversation that is worth further discussion either way. But we will now move to voting on the motion before us, which is to send the overture, amend the Book of Order to reform membership and baptism to the 227th General Assembly. So those in favor of sending this overture to the General Assembly, please say yes. Yes. Okay, hold on. I see a question. What is the question?
I'm still Bill Russell. I'm still retired, and I'm getting tired. Is this the motion that we're voting on, or does it include other wording in addition to the words that are on the page there?
So this is the title of the overture.
So it's the full overture as we have it. What you are sending is the text that is included in the background papers of the actual overture and the rationale. And the rationale. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for the question of clarity. We want to make sure people understand what you are voting on. So that let us start over with the vote. So you are voting to send the overture that is titled on amending the Book of Order to reform the requirements for membership and baptism to the 227th General Assembly. And that includes the actual text of that and the rationale that are included on pages 22 and through 24 of your background papers. Those in favor of it as it stands, please say yes. Yes. Any opposed, please say no. No. That is very close. I'm going to call for a division of the House. So for those who are in favor, please stand. All right, thank you. You may be seated. And those who are opposed, please stand. All right, thank you. You may be seated. The motion is defeated. But definitely good conversation. Thank you all. So the next item on the docket is the report of the Personnel and Administrative Committee, which will be given by the chair, Zane Buxton. So Zane. This is on page 25 of your background papers.
I am Zane Buxton, chair of the P&A Committee, a minister member of the Presbytery. Someone raised their eyebrows when Paul withdrew the motion from the consent agenda, as though maybe there was some big difficult issue involved. That is not the case. However, the P&A Committee wants you to be aware of the reviews that have been done of both Clark and Paul, and favorable reviews, obviously, and that we present to you their COLA increase, cost of living, 2.1%, which is what the Committee on Ministry has recommended for minister members of the Presbytery serving congregations as well. Those, as the moderator noted, are found on page 25. And I will entertain questions if you have any, but simply we want to affirm that these two people have served the Presbytery very well. We hope that they will continue to do so. I think I will make the note that we are still struggling a little bit with the whole idea of an 80% position description for our stated clerk. For him to know when and where to say, oh, wait a minute, that's 81%, I can't do that, is something that we all need to deal with in thinking about future years. I will also comment that in addition, the Personnel Administration Commission has done a thorough review of the work of Brian Craker as our transitional executive presbyter, and I will be delivering, I've already notified the PLC. I will be reporting to them at their next meeting the same kind of approval for terms of call for Brian. We did a thorough review. I thank everybody who participated in that review, and we are recommending to the PLC extension of his covenant agreement for another year. But they take action on that. I'm just alerting you of that details. So I recommend approval of the new compensation for Clark and Paul. Madam Moderator.
All right, thank you. That comes from a committee.
And I'll take any questions if there are any, but folks want coffee instead.
Right. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to pick up the item of business we removed from the consent agenda, which is to approve the terms of call for our advocate for congregations and clergy, Clark Sclera, and our stated clerk, Paul Bells Templeman. Because it comes from a committee, it does not need a second, but this is an opportunity for you to ask questions about the terms of call of our Personnel and Administrative Committee. And then since we have the motion on the floor, we will confine our questions to that at this time. But after that, we can have any other questions for the P&A committee as well. So the terms of call for our two staff people are currently on the floor. If you wish to speak to it, please come to one of the microphones. I'll recognize the speaker of this one.
Brad Gusick, Smith Memorial, and love these folks, but curious, like when we vote on my salary in my church, I always step outside the room just so that there's freedom and because people want to talk. So
Okay.
I fully support the motion, but just curious about that process.
All right, I will request that their staff people leave.
It's not actually polity, by the way. Yeah. It's not actually polity, by the way, to do that, but I will respond to questions.
All right, I see a speaker here at this microphone.
Ann Bowersock, sometimes honorably retired, sometimes not so much. I'm probably out of order, but all I want to say is thanks be to God for both of them. They're fantastic for this presbytery.
Thank you, yes. Any other discussion? All right. Seeing no one rising to seek recognition, I think we will move to the vote. Those in favor of approving the terms of call as they were presented in the background papers, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, please say no. All right, the terms of call are approved. Can we welcome our staff members back? Clearly lots of love for our faithful staff. Thank you both. If there are additional questions for our Personnel and Administrative Committee, you are welcome to ask them at this time. Please come to one of the microphones. All right, thank you very much, Zane. All right, as we conclude this segment of our meeting, let us again hear our assurance of pardon. The Apostle Paul writes that who is in a position to condemn us? Only Christ. And Christ died for us. Christ rose for us. Christ reigns in power for us, and Christ prays for us. Therefore, anyone who is in Christ is a new creation. The old has passed away, and behold, everything is becoming new. Friends, may you believe this good news that in Jesus Christ we are forgiven. Amen. We are about to head into a break. On our agenda, it was originally going to be for a half an hour, and we were going to reconvene at 5:15. Can we perhaps let us plan to regather at 5:20? So that gives us 12 minutes. But that way we can kind of get back on track with our agenda, because I want us to spend time in fellowship this evening. So during our break, I encourage you to connect with others about what you might do to share in fellowship this evening, and please be sure to add your plans either to the whiteboard that is on the way to the restrooms over there, or on the online document, which you should all have open on your devices, if you're open to others joining you. After the break, we will be gathering in the fellowship hall for the next part of our meeting, so please be sure to make your way there by 5:20. I see our stated clerk has something to say before we dismiss.
Moderator, before I forget, there were extra background papers that went out last night that deal with tomorrow, so the budget tomorrow. So if you go to the Presbytery website, you can download the budget report for tomorrow as well as a second stated clerk report. And do know that after the break, when you're in the next section, there will be time around tables for conversation. So you're going to get some break time one way or the other.
Indeed. All right, and now may the peace of Christ be with you. Let us share that peace with one another.